Locals in Johannesburg have reacted with shock to the resignation of the Johannesburg Metro Mayor, Herman Mashaba, with some saying it was long coming.
I'm so disappointed, and if he went off, it's okay.
I'm very, very happy that he resigned. It's about time.
It's annoying because they come in and misuse money and then they resign.
They knew what he was doing. So I hope we find somebody who's gonna be good as he was.
If I voted, I would vote for Jehovah, not for a man. Because after Herman Mashaba, there'll be another one, and they'll all do the same thing.
All leaders should act in an accountable way. It's just like a father that is heading a house, a father deciding to disappear in the early hours of the morning without indicating to the wife and the children that leaves much to be desired.
Why do you just wake up and leave when there's so many issues going on? You know, there's so many things that need to be sorted out. So what's the point of leaving? Now someone else has to come in, fix his mess, basically. And that's not fair.
They're thinking for themselves, they're not thinking about us.
It's fine, he must resign because he didn't do anything for us.
He used to give us pamphlets and telling us to vote so that we can get jobs and bring change to our country. We voted and now he is resigning.
Well, this is a story perhaps that didn't start today, that over the weekend certainly was brewing and moving towards what we heard today. Well, joining us now is our acting political editor, Mzwandile Mbeje, who was there at the Federal Council meeting at the weekend. Mzwa, thanks so much for joining us. Let's start at the weekend, because I think this is where we first got an inclination that something might happen should the vote go in a certain way.
Oh, of course. I remember, Peter, just before the meeting itself happened, we tried to speak to some of the people who have been very vocal leading to this meeting, particularly Herman Mashaba. I mean, he had written in newspapers, he had spoken, he had made it clear that should Helen Zille take over, so he's out. So basically he's fulfilling his promise. And this talks to a much bigger problem, Peter. I mean, you could see even there that there was tension. I mean, never mind how they tried to manage it. I mean, even at the press conference yesterday, it was very difficult. I mean, when Mosemaimane was sitting next to Helen Zille, you could see it was difficult. And one of the things Helen Zille kept saying is, I will stay on my lane. I mean, saying that repeatedly. You know that once you say something quite often, so you're actually giving something away.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Mosimaimane's speech over the weekend, because again, it perhaps gave us a clue that we shouldn't have been surprised that he was there today.
Well, yes, given what has been happening. But in fact, Peter, that is what has created so many problems. You know, as I'm speaking to you now, there is a raging debate within the DA structures, particularly the leadership. We know that FedEx is meeting, I think, tomorrow. And that meeting will be very interesting, because the question some are asking, Peter, is here is someone coming to resign from the party. He accuses it of all sorts of things. You, as the leader, you go and embrace that person and call that person a hero. So it basically, as I was saying, says something again about the bigger picture. Is Mosemaimane still prepared to be in the DA? I honestly don't think so. It perhaps may be a matter of days, weeks, perhaps months.
So over the weekend, the reports have been that he dared people in the party to remove him. Do you think he might go of his own volition then?
It would appear that he's had enough. I don't think he'll wait for people to push him out. I think he probably will call a press conference one of these days and say, you know what, this is the project we're trying to build, but it's not workable, so I'm out of it. So, but of course, it will depend on the nature of the discussions that are going to happen, Peter. I mean, as I was saying to you, I mean, even if you follow some of the Twitter messages of some of the senior members within the party, you would notice that by and large, your black leadership in the DA is very supportive of what of Herman Mashaba. And then there are those who are saying, well, even if we respect Herman Mashaba, but what was the leader there? What was he doing there? And you know how the Americans like to characterize this sort of things, Peter. So sometimes you don't always look at what I say, but you look at the optics. Okay. So things that are around the happenings. So if you look at the optics of the current situation with within the DA, so I think the writing is getting clearer and clearer as to where Mzwandile is headed.
All right. So, I mean, the man of the day is Herman Mashaba.
Yep.
The DA constitution is quite clear about what happens when somebody decides that he wants to go. Tell us about that.
It's very clear. You know, you'd remember the little clause. So once you announce the intention to resign in the DA, so you are considered as having left already. But here is someone, the mayor of Johannesburg, stands on the podium and says, I am resigning from the DA, but it doesn't take effect immediately. So you know why? Because it points to a crisis that is there right now. So the party says, okay, hold on a bit. So we understand that our constitution is supposed to say go. But given that there's a certain few things we need to do, like identify a candidate, please hold on. So that resignation will only be effective on the 27th of November. That is the resignations of both the DA and the mayor. So they had to make an exception, somehow flouting your own constitution because you need to make an exception. So does it not talk to a deeper crisis in the party? It certainly does.
Is finding a replacement the only thing that they need to manage in terms of the fallout that will come as a result of Mashaba leaving?
Certainly not, because it's not in their hands. Of course, they would forward someone, and we already have an idea that one of the names that is being touted within the DA is that of Makashulekana. So it's one of the people that is being spoken about already. But it's not in their hands. Remember, they are partners with the other political parties. Even the ANC has an interest in this. So everything that will happen now will be a function of negotiations and consultations with other parties. So the DA obviously would want to continue. The EFF has an interest in this. Of course, the ANC, as the majority party in Johannesburg, would want to have a say. You had their statement basically saying good riddance.
Would somebody have an appetite to take over this job, particularly wearing a DA hat?
Of course. I mean, this is the richest municipality in the country. Of course,
it's a
on the continent.
job if you've got these pressures from.
Well, you'll get the pressures, but once you are in there, you would feel you'd be able to navigate and perhaps push whatever you want to push. So it's going to be very interesting. It's not in the hands of the DA. It's not in the hands of the EFF. It's not in the hands of the ANC. It's in the hands of the negotiations that are to follow.
All right. Mzwandile, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks so much indeed for your insights as always. But let's see how this story plays out. It certainly is one that's going to gain momentum, one suspects, over the next few days. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Peter.